Coaching through modern media. Lesson 2. Introduction. How experts assess e-coaching and its future.
Welcome to the lecture Coaching through Modern Media. I'm Harald Geisler. I'm professor for further education at Helmut Schmidt University in Hamburg, Germany. My favorite subject in research and teaching is coaching. I'm doing this reflecting my many years of experience as coaching practitioner. On this basis, I developed and established in 2006 an internet platform called virtualcoaching.net. In these days, I was a pretty lonely pioneer in this new field. But now things are changing. More and more coaches are becoming open to use the modern communication technologies for their coaching services. And more entrepreneurs invest their money to develop new internet platforms to be used for distant coaching services. So I think now it's time to have a lecture about coaching through modern media, or shortly e-coaching, to give a broad overview and some in-depth insights into this interesting new field of practice. If you have a look onto the slides you can see in the background, you will realize that our lecture is structured into some different parts. The first, the yellow marked one, is the introduction part, and this is the second lesson in this part. Its subject, its issue, is how experts assess e-coaching and its future. We have contacted a lot of experts, and the results will be presented in this lesson. We will do this in 3 steps. In the first step, we are reflecting the general growth of the e-coaching market. Then we are discussing the market drivers, and in a third step, we will reflect the impeding factors, that are the barriers, that are the challenges for the further development of the e-coaching market. And now, let's immerse into the details of today's lesson.
Let's start by considering how the e-coaching market has developed over the past few years. Market research indicates that there are signs of growth for e-coaching market. As e-coaching practice is gaining acceptance and it's growing. Research such as, for instance, the ICF Global Coaching Study from 2007 have already demonstrated a growing trend towards e-coaching. Moreover, experts in the fields have forecasted further growth of e-coaching in the future. Also look at Frazee 2008. Experts believe that e-coaching is an emerging market with untapped potential that is beginning to be discovered by coaching practitioners and by organizations. We asked Dilith Faith, an expert leadership coach. That is what Dilith said.
There is a very big potential market, and the technology now makes it all so much easier. I think in terms of coaches moving into distant coaching, more and more coaches are moving into that arena because they are realizing that that's what other coaches have done who moved like myself.
Coming to the drivers. What might be the drivers' forces for the growth of the market? We asked experts in the e-coaching field, and based on their response, we came up with 9 main drivers and 5 barriers. To understand the origin and dynamics of the driving forces for e-coaching, we must have a look for the 3rd Industrial Revolution. Let's remember, the first Industrial Revolution was triggered by the invention of steam engine in the 18th century. The first modern steam engine was developed by Thomas Newcomb in 1712. In 1769, this invention was improved by James Watt, who is considered as the inventor of the steam engine by many. The invention of the steam engine made it possible to substitute humans and or animals' muscles work by a machine. The second Industrial Revolution was lashed by the invention of the assembly line by Henry Ford in 1930. In the strict sense of a revolution was not a technical but an organizational one. The third Industrial Revolution was triggered by the invention and implementation of information processing machines, like computers, especially since the 1970s. This fundamental invention substitutes brain activities by machines. The third industrial revolution was significant consequences for organizational, for private life, respectively for the whole society. These consequences are the basic frame not only for the coaching boom we can observe in the last 2 decades, but are also the driving forces for the virtualization of coaching processes. What does that mean in detail? The third industrial revolution has changed organization dramatically, because the relation between its 3 basic features. First, technology, second, organizational structure and especially workflow structure, and third, workforce selection, motivation and qualification. All 3 has changed significantly. Triggered by the philosophy of Second Industrial Revolution, the implemented technology determined the organizational structure and especially the workflow structure, and this in the next step determined the workforce selection, motivation and qualification. So the organization tried to find out which organizational structure would fit best for the implemented technologies. And within the frame, finally, they discussed personal issues like workforce selection, motivation and qualification. The basic reason for the third step determination is that the traditional technology has only little range of flexibility. This has changed dramatically with the modern information processing technology, because this technology offers not only the best solution for a wider scope of different solutions for the organizational structure, and the economic potential of the modern technology can be exploited only by a workforce with high personal commitment and empowerment. So nowadays, the 3 basic features of organizational is implementation technologies, organizational structure, and workforce selection, motivation, and qualification. Equivalent features in organizational must seek to find a good balance. So in the contrast to the days of traditional industrial, today we must state that the personal factor in organization has become significantly more important. That's the reason why we can observe the impressive coaching boom in the last 2 decades. But before tuning to the coaching, let's have a look into the consequences the third industrial revolution has triggered in our private life and its whole society. Firstly, these consequences include the advance in telecommunication and particularly in the increased use of mobile technologies, as well as the existence of a generation of people who are adept technology users, Generation Y. The third consequence is that of lifelong learning. Nowadays, individuals change their careers more than once in life, and the need for learning throughout their lifetime is prevalent in order for them to maintain a competitive advantage. Technology is an enabler of opportunities for individuals to learn in a flexible and self-organization manner. Our private lives can't be imagined without modern media, an important change with the last decades. Coaching on demand, globalization and the knowledge economy along for the need for faster, more flexible learning and in a more self-direction manner have induced the need for coaching on demand, that is, and when the need for coaching arises. Arguably, e-coaching enables the delivery of coaching flexibility, as and when it's needed. Following an expert from an interview we had with the university professor Dr. Geisler.
The driving forces that are the economic forces. There is a growing demand for coaching because it depends very much on the globalization processes, the speed of development, the increasing speed of development and of learning.
Speed of development, you mean of what kind of
change processes within organizations.
Oh, I see.
Yes, and in earlier times, you said the bigger eat the smaller companies. Now you must say the speedy ones eat the slower ones. Yeah, so it's very essential for companies to develop very speedy, very quickly, and that means that also the personnel resources must develop very quickly.
Right.
And this adoption processes or development processes are delivered very much by coaching processes. That's number one driving force, I would say.
Right. So it's the coaching on demand, let's say.
Coaching on demand. It's not just nice to have. It's a very essential tool. That's
okay.
Yeah, the mental factor or the personnel factor is very essential for the big companies.
In addition, the technological advances and the increasing sophistication communication technologies are improving the acceptance of e-coaching. David Tinker, the co-founder of the coaching software ProReal, commented on this.
I think the rise is only coming out of an acceptance that this is the new world. So we are getting more inquiries from people acknowledging that the technology is smooth enough and sophisticated enough to support coaching in a very real way.
Also, with globalization and the developments in technology mediation, communication, working remotely is not a rare phenomenon. As Bob Griffiths, the CoachMaster software founder, confirmed.
Driving forces? More people working at a distance and not being based all the time in the office? The fact that the internet has improved to the point where there are robust connections available in most parts of the world.
Millennials or Generation Y is the tech-saving generation, people familiar and comfortable using technology. This is what Sally Mustafic said about the implication of Generation Y entering coaching.
As the tipping point approaches, with the Y generation becoming coaches, I just think it's natural development of society that's going to make e-coaching big.
The need for transparency. Transparent processes are required by organizational investing and coaching for the employees, as the organization will also have an interest to know what happens during the coaching and how outcomes will be achieved. Anke Ulmer is a life and career coach with about 10 years of experience. Here is Anke's opinion on this topic.
Waking up, there's some people demanding it. Companies, multinational companies discovered this as a brilliant opportunity to provide coaching to their employees and have a certain professional concept, a certain professional approach guaranteed worldwide. That's certainly a real demand at the moment.
Anke's previous statement has two important implications. First, that there's a need for providing standardizing coaching processes. Organizations invest in a coaching for the employees in order to gain a financial benefit. Transparency of the coaching processes is of high importance for them, as the organization need to know how exactly the coach will proceed and what will be the value of the coaching service. The second implication of Anke's statement is that some e-coaching programs are based on a concept. These are typical programs with offer pre-structured material. A given structure in a coaching programs offer a standard framework of proceeding with a coaching client, and consequently these help the coach to demonstrate in a transparent way what the coaching will involve and what its aim to achieve. Reducing travel time and cost is one of the motivation for choosing e-coaching rather than face-to-face. Beth Hancock is a business coach in South Africa. She commented on the matter.
I think cost is one, not necessarily that people are charging less for it, but I think the cost of traveling, of infrastructure, especially people having to fly executives into major centers to get coaching. So I think that's where the cost element comes in. And I think also convenience. I think for people to be able to coach and be coached from their own place of business or home, You can have a much more greater flexibility in terms of time. People can, have a coaching session at home at 8 o'clock at night rather than having to find time during their busy workday. I think all of those things will contribute to the growing demand.
Coaching demands have been diversified. It's no longer only the executives and senior manager that need coaching, but coaching demands arises for the other employees and working teams. Professor Dr. Geisler explained.
Yes, my forecast is for the general coaching market that there will develop diversification, or a specialization of the different services, and within this general trend, I expect that also the different tools will increase and must be adopted to the special demands, to the special coaching demands.
Aside from factors enabling the growth of the e-coaching market, however, what might be the forces preventing or slowing down its growth? The inhibiting forces preventing the growth of the e-coaching market concern the lack of conceptual awareness around e-coaching, the lack of empirical research in the field, as well as biased low awareness of the potential of e-coaching services. Moreover, instability in some technology can become a barrier in the communication between the coaching pair and those, can have a negative effect on the perception on the mode of coaching. Finally, coaching associations are not yet supporting or promoting this rather nascent field of practitioners delivering coaching at a distance, are frequently lacking the necessary training to do so. Let's have a closer look at these inhibiting forces. Firstly, as the e-coaching is a nascent field, its conceptual basis is not yet established. There is a lack of awareness with regard to the conceptual meaning of e-coaching. What do we mean exactly by the term of e-coaching? Which technologies does it include? And how does it differ from other modes of coaching? For the moment, we understand e-coaching through modern media, especially as distance coaching. However, the lack of conceptual awareness around e-coaching has direct implications for the development of the market, as the business case for it has not been made. Here is what David Tinker phrased it.
But more importantly, we still as a coaching community, we haven't nailed the business case. So, is it at its rudimentary? Is it about behavioral change at a faster rate? Is that right at the core of the business case? Is it about reducing travel? Is it about being able to do more coaching sessions per day? So saying all these, hypothetically, as an inquiry, just where is the business case for each coaching?
In addition, research in e-coaching is scarce. There's very little empirical evidence to support the business case of e-coaching. Does e-coaching work? Is it effective? Is it an equal option for face-to-face coaching? We asked Anne Rivers, a researcher of web-based coaching, to tell us her opinions. Here's what Anne had to say.
I think that the lack of empirical evidence definitely limits the true potential of coaching and e-coaching, of course. I think if it would be more, the whole evidence-based trend is evolving more and more. People want to know, especially the business. Especially the business that needs to buy it. Yes. They want to know what they buy is effective. Yes. So yes, but the problem is that there's just not enough funding for these kind of research projects, because research in the end costs a lot of money. And there are a few people in the world who do continuous research on coaching, but for example, to really set up a big experimental design, you need funding.
Aside from the conceptual and empirical knowledge around e-coaching, the potential of e-coaching has not yet been fully understood. According to Matt Pöpsel, coaches are faced with the challenge to explain what distance or e-coaching can do and how it works.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely an awareness issue as well as a sort of a tangibility. It's very difficult to crisply explain what coaching is, and even with e-coaching, to sort of show it. I think this is an area where, from a training perspective, it's put up a 45-minute training video, measure how many people watched it, test them at the end to see if they retain the knowledge that we transfer to them. That's pretty straightforward. Coaching is a little bit more tough to get your arms around. It's a little bit more, and it's more powerful in terms of a behavior change than training is, but it comes at the cost of being a little bit harder to be explicit about how the coaching process works and how to make it happen inside organizations.
Beth Hancock also commented on this issue.
There's also, we don't have a history. We don't have a history of what works and what doesn't in e-coaching, and that will only come with time.
Okay.
So, we say, does e-coaching work? And people will say yes. So you say, how do you know? Well, they say, well, they think it does, or in their experience it has. But there isn't a body of knowledge.
Despite the unprecedented development in technology-mediated communication, some technologies may be rather unstable or may not offer an adequate quality. Jean Baer commented on this instability in technology. Well, possibly the unreliable quality of some of the online communication system voice isn't always very good. Calling someone on the phone means you are guaranteed to have good voice, good understanding of what the other person is saying. Whereas online sometimes it goes a bit funny. Someone doesn't have the right headset, someone else has background noise coming in, or I don't know, from the room next door, so the quality of the communication is not always clear enough. Distance coaching has not received much support by coaching associations. This is not helping to accelerate the change in buyers' existing perceptions. Professor Geisser elaborated on this argument.
The German market is very much dominated by the big organizations who buy coaching services for their employees, and then you must have a look onto the deciders who decide to purchase coaching services, and these people are not very good qualified to do their job, and they have the idea that e-coaching processes or phone coaching processes are second best solution. It's a prejudice.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a prejudice, yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay. And do you see any gaps, something that is missing from the e-coaching field at the moment? For example, research or
especially perhaps you can have a look onto the big coaching associations. E-coaching doesn't get significant support from the associations. It's pretty new, and therefore I think things will change within the next years.
Frequently, coaching practitioners don't see the importance in specialized training for delivering e-coaching. The delivery of this mode of coaching, however, requires the coaching practitioner to be familiar with technology or a range of technologies and to develop skills for coaching via distance. Beth Hancock commented on this.
So I think that there's a really big gap in the training of virtual coaches. I think that there is also a lack of knowledge in exactly how this all works or how it can work. I mean, technology is exploding. When I look at my iPad, I'm looking at the number of coaching apps coming available. Some of them are great, some of them are really bad. So I think there's a lot of knowledge of getting that right.
Dr. Kate Anthony from the Online Therapy Institute in the UK also noted the importance of training. I think the more tools at hand, the better the coaching service. Because if I want to coach,
and that coach doesn't have knowledge, for example, go into a virtual environment and practice interviewing skills, for example, at a distance, then I will just find another coach who can.
Now we have reached the end of the second lesson. You have heard a lot of the e-coaching market, about its general development, about the driver, and about the impeding factors and the barriers. And perhaps now you have the question, what's my personal opinion and assessment about e-coaching and its future? My answer is, the modern media that have started their development in the 1980s have not reached their summit of development. So I expect further innovations in the near future, and some of them will be revolutionary. This mighty trend will have an increasingly important impact also onto coaching and the coaching market. So I expect that e-coaching will increase and expand significantly within the next few years.